For an update on the 9th Free State ANC conference in Bloemfontein, we're now joined by SABC news reporter Makgala Masiteng. Makgala, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Last night we spoke and it was after a day that was delayed, but it's finally gotten off the ground. Take us through the day.
Yes, indeed, they were able to open the conference that was opened by the national chairperson, Mandashe, and thereafter they were locked inside in closed sessions, and then they moved out during the break where we saw them lobbying, different lobbying groups trying to do some last negotiations. That's when we saw them going inside in two groups, actually, the one singing in support of Xolisi Dukwana and the other in support of Sisi Ntombela. But since then, they've been locked inside, but I can see now some of them are outside. But I understand that the delay has been the adoption of credentials, but it was a given taking into consideration what we saw yesterday with those disruptions, with those members who were not happy, saying that they are supposed to be included in the list of delegates. So we are told that that process is the one that is delaying the conference. So they are still there where they are expected to adopt the credentials, but also adopt the organizational report. So as things stands, that is where we are at the moment.
So in real terms, the conference hasn't really started in earnest. Yes, there was an opening speech, but the real work of the conference is yet to begin.
Well, they have really started with some of discussions, but when it comes to issues of nominations and elections, of course, they will need to go through that adoption of credentials, but also given the history of the conferences of the ANC and even given the history of the conferences in the Free State, looking into between 2012 and 2018, where we saw the ANC in the province going into conferences, but results being challenged to an extent that leadership will be disbanded either by courts or by the National Executive Committee. This is a very critical moment for this conference when it comes to the adoption of credentials, but we'll get an update from the communications team as to whether they have managed to adopt those credentials or not.
What sense do you get amongst the delegates that are there? Have you been able to talk to any of them? I know that they can be quite guarded in terms of who you're allowed to access during this time.
Well, some are willing to talk, but what we are getting on the ground is that now we have those two people that I'm talking about for that position of the chairperson. We have the group that is endorsing the current convener, Xolisi Dukwana, and the other group endorsing Sisi Ntombela. We do know that initially we had heard that the ANC Women's League and the ANC Youth League was in support of Xolisi Dukwana, but we understand also that the Lejolipuzo had already indicated, the ANC Youth League in Lejolipuzo had already indicated that it is in support of Sisi Ntombela. But for now, those are the two groups that we know, the lobbying groups that we know, Xolisi Dukwana and that of Sisi Ntombela.
All right, so things continue to unfold. Makgala, we'll leave it there for the time being. Thanks so much indeed for that update. All right, and that's where we'll leave it from Bloemfontein. That was our reporter, Makgala Masiteng, who's in Bloemfontein covering the conference for us.